Hello everyone, welcome to this journey from becoming something to just being life. Welcome to MadMan. You were supposed to watch this video at exactly this moment of time because probably you think that it is you that chose to watch this video, but what actually happened is your eyes saw something probably on Instagram or YouTube, but in both the cases your eyes saw something that you did not have any control over, and your brain, with the kind of programming that your body has, produced a result that is watching this video. Welcome to MadMan. So the topic for today is free will does not exist. It's going to be a long video because this topic needs a lot of explanation. So please bear with me. I assure you that it's going to be an interesting video, and even more than that, it could even be life-changing for you. So please bear with me. Now, let me tell you that everything that I'm going to speak here today has already been spoken by this great Indian sage Ramesh Balsekar. Now before I delve into the video, let me give you a definition of few words that I'm going to use frequently in this video. The first one, free will. Now what do I mean by free will? Free will is the ability to choose between several options without any influence. The second one is body-mind organism. Body-mind organism. It is pretty simple, self-explanatory. Body-mind organism is any organism that has a body and a mind. The third is programming. Now programming is the ever-changing collection of concepts. Concepts being what is right and what is wrong, both conscious and unconscious, that functions for a decision to take place in a body-mind organism. Now with all those definitions, I think we are ready to get right into the topic. Now let me begin it this way. There is nothing wrong in this world. There is absolutely nothing wrong in this world. Everything is happening exactly the way it is supposed to happen. Now the basic misconception is that we think we are living our lives. But it is not we that are living our lives, but it is the basic energy, life or God or consciousness or whatever you call it. It is that basic energy that is being lived through each and every individual, for the simple reason that you did not choose this life, life chose you. Now having said that, there is this same basic energy, life, that functions through each and every individual. The same energy functioning through a body-mind organism called Hitler results in killing of thousands of people. On the other hand, the same energy, life, that functions through a body-mind organism called Mother Teresa results in saving of thousands of people. Now through the eyes of society, we see one act as wrong and one act as right. But in nature, both of these are happenings. Just like the same nature is capable of creating earthquake that can kill millions of people, on the other hand, the same nature provides suitable environment for millions of organisms to thrive. To make this concept easily understandable, we can use the analogy of electricity. Electricity being the basic energy, life, and all the electrical appliances being all the individuals or all the body-mind organisms. Now the same basic electricity, when functioning through an electrical appliance called refrigerator, produces a different kind of result. On the other hand, the same electricity functioning through an electrical appliance called microwave produces a different kind of result. But it is the same energy, electricity, that is functioning through all the electrical appliances. Now, so why do we think there is free will? We think there is free will because we think it is us that is having to take decisions after decisions in order to function in this world. Now these two things are more than enough for me to prove that free will does not exist. First, we do not have any control over the outside situation. I think this is very easy to accept because we do not know what our five senses are going to perceive next. So we do not have any control over the outside situation. The second one is little tricky to understand. It is that we do not have any control over what kind of programming we receive. Now again, going back to the initial definition of programming, programming is ever-changing collection of concepts, that is what is right and what is wrong, both conscious and unconscious, that functions for a decision to take place in a body-mind organism. Now I am saying that we do not have any control over what kind of programming to receive. It is simply because we do not have any control over what kind of parents to born to, in other words, what kind of genes to receive, and we do not have any control over what kind of environment to be brought up in. Since all our programming is being shaped by the kind of genes we have and the kind of environment we are brought up in other words, what is right and what is wrong for one person is totally dependent on what he is taught in the society. Now since we do not have any control over the outside situation and we do not have any control over the programming that we receive, we do not have any control over any decision we think is our decision. Because if we look closely, whatever we call is our decision is actually the brain reacting to the outside situation that we did not have any control over, and to the reaction of the brain, body producing a certain kind of result according to the programming it has. Now let me give you an example. Now if we have a Nepali guy and an American guy standing next to each other, and a third guy says that you're overweight, now the reaction that comes out from a Nepali guy is going to be different, because in Nepal it is very common to call someone overweight. You casually call someone overweight. But the reaction that will come out of an American guy will be different, because it is not very common and it is taken very offensively in this country. Now it is the same thing that both of their senses perceived, but it produced two different results because both of them have two different programmings. Just like two electrical appliances producing two different kind of results. Now there is an experiment done by this scientist called Benjamin Libet. So basically the experiment is this. He found out that whatever we think is our decision, or whatever we call is our decision, the decision has already happened in our brain half a second before we claim that it is our decision. It is to say that the moment we think we have decided something, it has happened in our brain half a second before that. That is to say that it is just a happening, no different than a leaf falling off a tree and a rain falling off a sky. If you're interested, I'll share the link to that article in the description below. You can check it out. Now I was telling all these things to a few of my friends, and one of them happened to be a computer science major. So I was using the word programming over and over again, and at the end of the session he said, "I'm so confused with this word programming that I've forgotten the programming that I do at work." But getting back to the point, these two things are more than enough to prove to me that free will does not exist. And they are, we do not have any control over the outside situation, and we do not have any control over what kind of programming to receive. Now after all this, one can ask the question, okay, I get the point, but what is there for me to gain if I accept that free will does not exist? Now the answer to that is, you cannot accept that free will does not exist. Why is that? Because upon hearing to all these things, it is your programming that comes into play, and the result that it produces is either the acceptance that free will does not exist or unacceptance that free will does not exist. So even that is dependent on the programming that you have. Now after hearing all these things, now if a body-mind organism accepts that free will does not exist, even intellectually, then the amount of pride and guilt that he suffers will be significantly less. Because we think that beside the body and mind that we have, a separate entity that we call ourselves exists, that is responsible for taking any kind of decisions in our lives. We think that exists, right? It exists. But let me tell you that the intensity in which that entity exists in you, the entity that Ramesh Palsekar uses the word personal doership. Now what is a personal doership? So I don't know who exactly gave this definition, but it goes like this. A human being is a mechanism in which there exists another mechanism that prevents the human mechanism from seeing its mechanistic nature. I repeat, a human being is a mechanism in which there exists another mechanism that prevents the human mechanism from seeing its mechanistic nature. That mechanism that prevents the human mechanism from seeing its mechanistic nature is the personal doership, or the entity separate from body mind that we think exists and is responsible for taking any kind of decision in our life. Now, the intensity in which that personal doership exists is the intensity in which that body mind organism suffers guilt and pride. I call pride a suffering because it is no different than a guilt. If you are proud of doing something, then there will come a moment when you are guilty of doing something, because you think you are the one who decided what to do and what not to do, but it is your programming that is functioning at every moment of your life, and the certain kind of results are being produced through the body mind organism. So if there is total acceptance of this concept, not intellectually but totally, then a body mind organism does not suffer any guilt and any pride, because that body mind organism understands that any kind of action that is happening through that body mind organism is because of the programming and reaction of the brain to the outside situation, both of which that body mind organism did not have any control over. Now, even after all this, you cannot accept the fact that free will exists, right? Because you think you are the one who is moving your hand. Probably you're moving your hand, you're rolling your eyes, turning your head and saying, I'm doing all this, right? So let me tell you, you are doing all those things because your brain reacted to me saying that free will does not exist and giving all these explanations. And to that reaction, since your programming is such that it cannot accept this concept, it is producing result that is moving its head and moving its hands to falsify this concept. So even that action that came out of you is the reaction of your brain to outside situation, that is me speaking, that you did not have any control over. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your love and support. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.